power and say so in your government. Malcolm X said, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Politics, government, elections impact us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So we have to get a lot smarter about it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Somebody want to be on the show. I
did
think that.
Is that me?
No, it was me.
Who is that? Is that Michaela?
Michaela
That's
is
Michaela.
on watching live, yes.
Michaela's watching live. She don't have to remove. Hey, Michaela.
I took myself out.
Okay.
It was me. I'm sorry.
Okay, not a big deal. But anyway, be that as it may, I'm your host, Angela Taylor, and my favorite millennial. Hey, somebody got to, well, maybe we can't do live.
I think it was me.
No, I don't know what's going on. If we got to turn it off, let's block it. Okay. We won't be, my Facebook people, we will not be broadcasting live from my page. You're going to have to go to the YouTube channel or a Blazing Radio. You can go there, hit the the button in the bottom left-hand corner, and you can listen live. But at any rate, Michaela McCray, my co-host, is not in studio today. She won't be here. She's not here today and won't be here next week, but she will be returning on the 14th. And again, as I say, that is my absolute favorite millennial. I love to be around thinking people. And Fabian, if you can turn the camera, because again, Prince George's County needs some honest brokers, because we ain't got them. And if I've been saying this, but I'm telling you, that meeting last night let me know we ain't got a lot of honest brokers at the top of our government. We got people who are, trying to be advocates, but are getting shut down at every turn. So, cameras on Tanya Sweat. Tanya Sweat has been helping these folks, and Tanya's a lawyer. She could be making some bank. Okay. But when you see something wrong and you are committed to making it right, those are the kinds of people that were in government in the 50s and 60s when I was growing up. We had lay people who knew the community. Tanya knows the community. Tanya helps people. Tanya has been an activist and an advocate ever since I had the pleasure of meeting her 2-3 years ago.
Oh my God.
Whenever it was.
We old friends now, Melinda. We old friends.
Yep. And again, people who know me know that I don't give my stamp of approval on any old body. So again, get your yellow sticky and write TONYA space SWEAT. And stick it on your refrigerator. Again, if your refrigerator's crowded, stick it on your bathroom mirror. If that's crowded, stick it on your bedroom mirror, but stick it somewhere in your house. Because if her name is not on the ballot, you can write her in. All you independents who voted for her last election, know, trust, and believe, Maryland and D.C. are closed primary jurisdictions. So the only votes that get counted are Republican and Democrat. As an election judge, as I told you folks, I can't refuse to give you a ballot. I don't care if you're Green Party or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you are in a closed primary state, which Maryland and D.C. are, and you are not registered Democrat or Republican, that ballot will not get counted. So again, cameras on Tanya Sweat. Write her in. If you don't see her on the ballot, if you see her on the ballot, fill in that oval. If you don't, write her in. Because now the person who we have at the top of our government is using our funds, and yes, I'm going to read that letter, to run for federal office. And to my mind, if you are not doing a good job in the job that you have, if you in corporate America and you ain't doing a good job at managing You ain't getting a promotion from me or anybody I know. I know you doing some sideways stuff. I know it. So anyway, moving right along, let's get to our announcement portion.
Announcements, please.
Yeah, really important. There is a U.S. Senate candidate forum on this weekend, Saturday, March the 2nd. And Marcellus Cruz just found out about it. Because we got 3 folks running for the United States Senate. I'm going to give it to you in alphabetical order. Angela Also Brooks, Marcellus Cruz, and David Trump. Okay? That forum is on this Saturday, March the 2nd, in Montgomery County, at Montgomery Blair High School in the auditorium. That address, for those of you who may not know, is 51 University Boulevard East, and that's Silver Spring, Maryland. The forum runs from 3 to 5 p.m. The second forum, he just found out when I told him, is going to be next week on Friday, March the 8th, from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the Ebenezer AME Church at 7707 Allentown Road in Fort Washington, Maryland. Now, the flyer only lists 2 folks on there, but know, trust, and believe. If you go to Ballotpedia, like I keep telling y'all to do, see who's on the ballot wherever you are in this country. And again, we're going to get to reporting on those folks who are sitting in the House of Representatives who have participated in the insurrection. We just ain't there yet. That was my first very important announcement. My second one is the scholarship for Anthony Richard Tillman has closed today. So if you don't have it in, if it's not postmarked today, you might as well keep your application at your house. All right. Third, the state of Maryland has I keep forgetting that. Tanya, help me out with that. The Youth Corps.
Service year option.
Service year option. And Maryland Corps. All you need to do is text the word Maryland to 2100. 21,000. Text the word Maryland to 21000. Or Paul Montero now has a website available for those of you who want information, and that would be D as in doggy, S as in Sam, C as in Charlie, I as in intelligent, .maryland.gov. Help those folks who, had to graduate during the COVID period and really aren't sure what they want to do. That is the website and the text that will help them. One more thing before we get started, ladies and gentlemen. And I write down stuff because I don't want to give it to you wrong and I don't want to forget it. They had some elections this week. The Michigan one is the one that comes to my mind. Because in that election, there are a group of, they say they have an Israel-Palestine community up there, who is voting what?
Uncommitted.
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 Okay.
Non-committed.
10,000 votes.
Yeah.
Uncommitted.
Okay. And you guys need to be real clear. As we have told you earlier, there are forces at work. You can see it if you look at the 30 minutes worth of news that I'll be telling you to look at on a daily basis. There are forces in place to to get rid of democracy. Because that's what this election comes down to. You either want democracy and a choice, or you don't. But in that Michigan election, the uncommitted piece is what I want to call to your attention. Because as we called to your attention earlier, the No Labels Party, same thing. They're pulling votes from candidates who believe in democracy, who believe that all of us should have a voice and a choice. No labels, Uncommitted, and dare I say the Green Party, are those parties pulling votes away from your ability to have a choice and say so in your government. Don't let them do it. Don't fall for the okie doke. We fall for it too doggone often.
And the sad part about that, Miss Angela, is all of those parties start off as one issue parties. The uncommitted thing in Michigan was done because they're trying to force the country to do something about the war over in the Gaza Strip between Israel and Palestine.
Right.
And the Democrats who've joined this movement in Michigan seem to think that voting uncommitted in their primary won't matter because President Biden's going to be the nominee anyway. But again, like you say, this stuff, there's a slippery slope
Exactly.
that comes with doing stuff like this. And when you start voting for one issue, what about the others?
Exactly.
Where does it stop?
Right.
And so what you'll find is a lot of these one issue voting groups, I won't even call them parties, I just call them groups,
Right.
tend to fall off. They're not consistent. Or they just fall into a state of debauchery, like the Libertarian Party. I just found out if you look at their social media, some of the stuff that they post out there, these
They still
conspiracy,
exist.
they still
They
exist.
still exist, yeah. They're
But they
official party.
post some conspiracy theories and just some whack stuff on their social media, and it's scary. It is very scary. And so, yeah, you got to be careful. You got to educate yourself. You got to know what these groups are about when you hear them. And sometimes I wish the press just wouldn't cover them because they give them more credibility than
Than
I
they
think they
deserve.
deserve.
Absolutely. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. But the Israel-Palestine argument, crisis, whatever, has been in existence since the 1940s.
That's been in existence since creation.
Yeah.
Let's just keep
But-
it real.
okay.
Well, no, the
That go-
real, the
that
real
go
bigger
back
than that.
But see, you're
bigger
talking
than that.
about the real Israel at that point, and not we gave them a slice of land.
Well, I
So
mean,
that's where the 1940s came in.
It go
But
back to
it's
Cain and
still
Abel.
it's still the same crisis.
True.
And that stick of dynamite has been in play since the 1940s. In 2017, Trump had, what's his name, Netanyahu lighted by moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and acknowledging that as the capital. He knew what he was doing. Netanyahu is nothing but a smarter version of Trump. That's one. But, and again, I don't want to get off topic there, but the biggest thing I'm trying to convey is that we cannot allow all these sideshows to pull the electorate away from democracy into those one issue conversations. You can't make, you can't make, well, that ain't the way to make it happen.
No.
That's a long story short. And for you folks in Michigan who are blaming the president, that ain't how government works. And by doing that, you are showing us how stupid you are. Because President Biden is doing what constitutionally he's supposed to. The House of Representatives are the people who hold the purse strings and say, hey, send this money over there, fight the war, or whatever. That's what they're doing. So those are the folks, those are the Bamas we need to hold accountable. And we are not doing that. Or, yeah, we're not doing that. Again, here's what the president can do for the gazillionth time. The president can make treaties with the approval of the Senate. He can veto and sign bills. That's what the president does. He represents our nation in talks with foreign countries. He enforces the laws that Congress passes. And I'm going to stop right there because, yeah, that's what he's supposed to do. Now, here's what the House of Representatives, those midterm elections that you guys have ignored for so many years and have put us in the position that we are in right now. The Congress is the only government body that can declare war. The Congress is the only government body that can determine where money is spent. Now, you all need to go to whatever reference piece that you have, legitimate reference piece. And I'm not talking about Dr. Google. You need to do your freaking homework. So with that, we have to, we're going to move on to our topic, which is what constituents have to say about what's going on at the local, the state, and the federal levels, because this is an election year, and I'm telling you folks, we can't blow this one.
No, we can't.
We cannot blow this one. The Supreme Court is now agreed, because they were trying to stay or not take any action on giving Trump immunity.
Yeah, that argument's a coming.
Yeah, it is coming. But anybody who can read knows that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment squashes him from the ballot anywhere because he has committed crimes against the government. Everybody can see that.
Yeah, they did the argument for the Colorado thing, and Illinois just banned him from the ballot. So
Yeah.
we got Maine, Colorado, Illinois, and we're waiting on the decision of the Supreme Court to decide if Colorado's decision stands or not.
But again,
So,
like we were talking about last week, the Rehnquist Court gave states, pulled some of that power from the feds and gave it to the states. Now the states are deciding, and now you don't like what they decide.
Right.
Okay, but long story short, let me introduce our guest. And Jocelyn Duncan, who
Hey there.
has been a business partner of mine in a couple of our ventures, and John Q, who has put some interesting stuff on Facebook that caught my attention. And if you would introduce yourselves to the audience, this forum is about constituent concerns, because stuff that I think is important, you may have other issues, and we need to put positions out there, give people some food for thought, stuff that they can concentrate on and hold their elected officials accountable. So, John Q,
Yes.
you want to introduce yourself? You need to get into the mic, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is John Q. Gardner Jr. Everybody calls me John Q. I am just a regular guy trying to have a good life and very concerned about the direction our country is heading. And I have some valid thoughts on it, but I think the most important thing is there's so much confusion out there that we need to focus on the truth. And the truth is probably the most simplest thing to find if you're looking for it. And I look for it daily.
Okay, what is your truth as it relates to what's going on in your community? Because I asked you to come because you were a Prince George's County resident. And just so you know, Jocelyn used to live in Akakeek. She moved from there to D.C., so she can speak to both Prince George's County and the District of Columbia. But John Q, you have the floor, sir.
As far as my county and from my perspective, things have gone pretty well. I've lived in PG for 13 years now, and I have a house, and probably not as profound as some of my co-folks here, but PG is okay, and I'm learning a lot today. Even before the mic turned on, it has opened my eyes to some other things that I need to look into, and I'm definitely willing and going to do that.
Okay, we
Thank
so appreciate that. Jocelyn, I know you got a lot to say, so turn that mic over. Introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Jocelyn Duncan. I am a native Washingtonian. I was born in a hospital that no longer exists. I grew up, I went to school in the district, got married, moved to PG County, was there for a very long time, and have moved back to the district to take care of my mom. So, in moving back, the gentrification of our city has become top of my mind because it doesn't just affect the houses that are bought. It affects the education that our children get. And although now my children are grown, they have children, and I now have grandchildren that are now in the system. And so that's important. Our city services are less than up to par.
Okay, we can talk about that. But one thing I want you to share with the audience, because I just learned, and I'm telling it within the past 10 years, that in the District of Columbia, if you don't pay your utility bill,
They
the
can put a
water
lien
bill,
on your house.
they can
take your house.
Exactly.
Yes,
Is
they
that true
can.
for all the utilities or just the water?
Um,
And I don't know is an intelligent
so
answer.
so here is the thing. Yes, Pepco can do that, but they are not a city utility, though they provide utilities to the city.
Okay.
So they would be doing that as a corporation. But the water bill, that is a city owned and run utility.
DC
And so
Water.
it is the city taking your house. Or actually what they're doing isn't the city taking your house as much as placing a tax lien. And DC does tax liens online only now, Monday through Friday.
So if you don't have a computer, do you know?
Not only if you don't have a computer, because you can go to the library and use a computer, and they're doing online only business hours 8 to 5. But you have to not only have a computer, but you must be computer literate. You have to know what you're looking for. Do you know the plat number that your house sits on, or do you just look at the tax bill and pay the tax bill? So it's not just as easy as I ain't pay my tax bill. It's and also the thing to understand is if you buy a house and there was a lien sitting out on that house, you now have to pay for that lien on that house.
Let me time out. So, if hypothetically speaking, Tanya lives at 46 on a house on 46 Place Northeast. The water bill ain't paid. The city served her lien. She has to move out. So if I want to move into that house,
You mean you bought it?
yeah. If I want to buy that house, I have to pay the outstanding lien first. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's basically how it works.
Yes,
when
that's
you
how
buy
it works.
property with a lien on it.
With a lien.
Um,
That's why you do a title search.
you have to basically when you pay for the house, the selling price, prayerfully, fingers crossed,
Yes,
should
exactly.
cover
Uh-huh.
all of the liens on the house
Okay.
as well as be fair market value.
Right.
So what happens is the title company has a responsibility under the law to subtract any monies owed to the district to pay off the water lien. The mortgage also has to be paid.
Yeah.
So the mortgage is then the balance of the mortgage is paid. And then any other potential liens that might be on the house, it might be, well, DC, thank God, doesn't have homeowners associations like they do in Maryland.
Yeah.
But in Maryland, you may end up with a HOA lien on your house that has to be paid off. Oh yeah, if you do a home equity line of credit or a loan, that's another lien that's on the house. So when you sell, all those liens have to be paid off
Right.
in order for the buyer to get what we call clear title. And you want to own your property, not in conjunction with the water company and everybody
But remember
else.
in DC that the other thing is in DC you own your house, but you don't own the land that
Right,
it sits
because it's federal
on,
land, right.
Because that's federal land.
Right.
So it doesn't matter whether that house is in Georgetown and it's 2 acres, or
Right.
that house is on New Hampshire Avenue
Right.
and it's a half an acre. You don't own the land that it sits on. You
just own
only
the-
own the structure.
The structure that's sitting
Okay.
on top.
John Q has something to say. So
Yeah,
pull the mic over, sir.
I was just curious. I know in Maryland, if your water bill, you're having problems with your water bill, you can sign up for a program and they'll prorate it so you can pay it and keep it up. It's not a similar program like that in DC?
There is a program like that in DC.
Wait, we put,
DC does have programs that will help you pay off your utilities, that whatever. But the point is not that you can't. It's have you done that?
Right.
Because you
You
can
gotta
sign.
apply.
You can sign up for it. Now, also, did you keep in good faith and pay those? Those
monthly
payments, those
Yep.
monthly payments, because those monthly payments are also in addition to whatever your current monthly payment is. But we're gonna say that so that everybody else out here understands it, because it's not one or the other.
Right.
It's both, which is, how, for instance, in between my house, I live in the 5600 block of New Hampshire Avenue. So in between my house and the house next door to me, there's a strip of land. It is not big enough to build anything on it. However, at some point in time, some church in Pennsylvania purchased that land.
Alleyway.
That it ain't even an alleyway because it's grass. There's an alley behind it. That's not alleyway. It's not a throughway. You can't drive through it. You can only
Wow.
walk through it. And and the neighbors, the past neighbors and my family, we took turns cutting the grass and all that. We didn't care about them people in Pennsylvania. But evidently, that strip of land went into a lien, a sale, right? So the neighbor that lives next door purchased the lien. But he didn't know he didn't purchase the property,
Right. The right to.
the right to own that piece of property. So unless you pay for everything, back taxes and all, and there was a lot of back taxes.
Right.
So I don't know what the tax lien was because I didn't pay that much attention. I thought it was hilarious because he's a terrible neighbor. But the fact, the fact, he points his water spout at my house, so we getting ready to go to court over that because the damage to my foundation is from your water. But he purchased the tax lien, so I think the tax lien was like $3,000-4,000. That was not what the back taxes were.
No.
Because they own it, but they ain't paying back taxes on it. But because the back taxes were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, he don't own that strip of land.
I know people in the district, or know of families in the district who have lost their house for $2,000 worth of utility bills. The house be worth millions, but you lose it because you're uneducated about the process. You didn't pay attention to that elderly person in your family who lived there, and you didn't try to help it along. This is why we come on the air, so we can take y'all to school about some stuff.
And you got to remember, DC is unique.
Yeah,
It's
Oh,
not.
yeah.
It's not a
It's-
state.
It is not.
So it does
Mhm.
not
Not a
operate
county.
like Maryland
Yeah.
or Virginia or
Exactly.
Pennsylvania
Mhm.
or Delaware.
Right.
And correct, it's not even a county.
Right.
DC is a city.
Mhm.
It's an incorporated city, but it only operates independently with the approval of
The
the
federal
United
government.
States government.
Exactly.
So every single budget that the mayor and the council propose and pass still has to go to the Hill
And be
Exactly.
ratified by
and be
the
ratified
Congress.
by the Congress.
Yep.
And they can hold up. They can insist on changes. They have.
Mm-hmm.
They are currently doing that for a particular police bill.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is and while people are talking about they want DC to be a state, we ain't big enough to be a state. We got problems being a city. How the hell will we be a state?
Well,
I'm sorry, I just don't. I mean, I don't want us to be beholden to the Congress, but we got enough problems right now. Being the federal city.
Okay, we'll have that discussion later because I don't.
Yeah, I was
agree
gonna
with
say
that
that's
at
the
all.
issue for a whole. That's a whole show right
Yeah,
there.
that,
right
yeah,
there.
exactly. That's a whole show
Can I
right there.
can I add also to make you aware? I was born and raised in D.C. as well,
Hashtag me too.
and
Yeah.
and for the part, I came back and I lived in Trinidad. Trinidad Avenue was one of the toughest areas.
Yeah.
I actually had to show my driver's license to get into that area.
That's District 5 or count.
Yeah, that's fifth.
That's
That's
50th.
fifth district.
Yeah, okay.
And the only other thing it was the first time that I got to know the police, because
Mm-hmm.
when I be coming home and the guy will be in that truck with that big light,
Mhm.
you know, and he would, and you know, he was kind of just bored. You know, we're using our manpower for just to turn on the light, and it was interesting to me to see how the next generation has taken over the government. I don't think it's changed that much, but you know, is always to me the issue that as blacks we want to have more people of our color doing things, where the real issue, we need to have people that are willing to change things. And that is a major challenge, you know, because,
All change ain't good change.
huh?
Well, I
All
won't.
change is not good change.
I'm gonna say this because I'm of the younger generation. I'm a Gen Xer,
Uh-huh. So is she.
and I don't have a problem with changing things.
Mm-hmm.
But the challenge and the problem, the concern that I have, and I have to apologize to the audience because it really showed last week. I went back and watched the show. I was embarrassed my own self.
I don't think so.
My frustration with the need and the want for change is you don't even know what you're changing or why.
Exactly.
What we cry for as minorities, and it's not just African Americans,
Mm-hmm.
as minorities in this country, we cry for change because we want change from the results. We want change from the impact,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't understand where this all comes from. And that's why I always say education is so important.
It's everything.
Because you have to understand something. I love my mother, and I say this, and I'm
All
gonna
the
keep
time.
saying it. Yes, because when I decided I wanted to go to college, my mother dissuaded me from going to a historically black college or university. My mother graduated from South Carolina State College, not university. She graduated from South Carolina State College and said, no, if you want to go to the same school I went to, you can live at home. I'll buy you a car. You can commute. She knew that wasn't going to fly because I was ready to go. But I went to a primarily white institution because my mother looked me straight in my eye and said, baby girl, if you're going to live in a white man's world, you have to understand the white man's rules.
Right.
The best lesson she's ever given me,
Yeah.
other than the lesson to love myself.
Yeah, but when I was
Is
talking,
that it? Oh.
when I was talking about change, and this is my first time here, I don't talk about change as some kind of superficial stuff. I worked for corporate America for 25 years, and I learned very quickly that knowledge is power. So when I'm talking about change, I'm talking about studying and understanding what you need to do to get from point A to point B with a solid plan, and to do that, I don't, because I know what you're saying on the surface. You know, people say they want change, but a lot of people are out there, it's their first time in public life, and they just get all excited about the motion and don't get the substance. It's just like the Republicans say all the time, we want to change Obamacare, and they don't have a plan to change Obamacare. So I'm talking about change that has substance, that have people that are working for it, and people that are working together to accomplish it. And I see the challenge as we're not focusing on getting enough people educated so we can have the programs we need to make that change.
Well, that's a big reason why we are in this studio today, because increasingly in our travels over the years, we have learned that people do not know how government works. They
Right.
don't know. And it's incumbent upon us, since the Republican National Committee is not doing it, since the Democratic National Committee is not doing it, and I know I have written Perez and Jamie Harrison. Y'all have a national treasury, if you will. That's something you can do. You're just choosing not to.
Well, there's also the fact that we do have programs out there, and most of the time we don't educate people as to what those programs are and how they can benefit them. And also they're buried. You know, we learn so many things from all different people. My son, my oldest child, pulled out the city about 2 years ago. He pulled out the city's 20-year plan. Went back 20 years and pulled out the plan. Now, everything that they said they were going to do and things that we're seeing that are happening now, it was in that plan.
Not surprised.
But most of us didn't have any idea that it was in that plan or coming that way because they were not going to publicize it. And then those of us that did know didn't shout it to the rooftops, this is what's going to happen. We need to pay attention.
Well, again, when they took civics and government out of schools, and they started in Maryland, because it used to be mandated in D.C. As I say, every freaking week, the three things you're going to use from the cradle to the grave, that's math, English, and government. You're going to use that. Now, every society globally operates on family, education, government, economics, and religion. And the thing that impacts us most is the thing we know the least about,
Yep.
and that's government. So you got to talk to your neighbors.
Yeah,
You
right.
you can't be,
You're
you know, you can't point. Malcolm X said that I am a student of Malcolm X.
Yes.
That is the one thing he has said. You just can't focus on your little neighborhood. You have to focus globally, because if
Right.
it's happening over, and I'll use Palestine and Israel, it can happen here.
It can
So you
happen
got to
here.
pay attention to everything.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, you got to understand something. Ignorance of the law is no defense. And how they get you, and I say they, and you know, I'm a part of the law. I got a license to practice in 3 jurisdictions. Once it's passed and it's printed in the official books, that's all the notice you are required to get. Nobody's got to knock on your door, mail you a letter, give you a postcard, run it on the news, play it on the
Right.
radio. Once it's published in the United States Code, that's federal law, period. Once it's published in the Maryland Code, that's the only notice you get. Once it's signed into law and enacted by that chief executive of the jurisdiction, whatever jurisdiction it is, and it's published in the official record, that's it. It's done. You are the government's not required to tell you anything else. So when people say, I didn't know, you didn't know because you didn't want to know. And yes, there's a lot going on in the government. There's a lot.
Exactly.
And no, I don't expect anybody, because I can't even keep track of everything that's going on in our government at the local, state, and federal level. It's impossible.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if it affects you, you have a duty as a citizen, as a voter, to know what is going on. And stop relying upon what Jimmy said. I heard. WJLA said on the news.
Or Professor
No.
Google said.
You got to educate yourself. And I was embarrassed by myself last week, Ms. Angela. I'm going to tell you why. Because that angered me.
Oh, yeah.
What angers me is not that Mr. Cruz is running. I applaud him for that. I applaud anybody willing to take on that challenge. That is a challenge. But what angered me is he's running in ignorance.
I tried not to say that.
I'm going to say it. When you don't understand how the processes work and you come spouting off these beautiful ideas, you set yourself up for failure and everybody who's following you.
Well, I don't think you should be embarrassed from last week, because if you are going out for public office, you can take the heat.
Oh, heck yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and I had to
and you
take the
can
heat.
give it as good as you.
I tried
yeah.
my best to be patient with him, but I lost it. I just couldn't.
I'm so glad I wasn't on.
It was like, friend, you're talking big stuff and it sounds good, but the way you're saying it tells me you don't even begin to understand
The
how
process.
you're going to get it done.
Yeah.
Nor do you understand that the chances of you succeeding are slim. He's running for a chamber, of Congress, a house
Yeah.
of Congress that has 100 people in it.
That's going to make laws or rules, if you will, for the country.
Anybody running for the House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate, the State House of Delegates, the State Senate, who says, I am going to do something,
Yeah.
angers the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Because you can't do nothing by yourself.
Exactly. And this is another thing that we need to understand, that increasingly, well, let me go back to my thought before you talk. I've run into people who don't know where to find a Bill of Rights, Mr. John Q. They don't know where to find the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, I kind of disagree, and I think it's a kind of a norm, but people get offended when you call them ignorant. And, you know, history and tradition, but there's nothing wrong with being ignorant.
Not a thing.
No, because all ignorance says you
It's
don't
uninformed.
know.
Is I don't know.
And
Exactly.
you need to know. So I think more and more, you know, we need to convey that to people. That I was a PG County middle school math teacher. And what I liked about PG in terms of the county, their educational system that took me from a computer salesman to a math teacher to these crazy middle school kids was fantastic. And the one thing I learned from all that is that as a woman told us one time, when you walk away from this class, if nothing else, you need to be a lifetime learner, and as well as you need to be a lifetime teacher. Like we know why government and mess with the educational system for blacks, because they don't want you to be educated, because knowledge is the simplest power. And a lot of us
The application of knowledge is
yeah,
power, but
sure.
continue, sir.
yeah, that's cool. And this needs to happen at all levels. But one of the challenges is in our society, it is so geared to emotions instead of values. We don't have a lot of values that are being presented to the younger generation because emotion sells. That's all it is.
And
this-
you can't teach what you don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
And Mr. John, I appreciate you. I love you. But I want you to stop saying something.
What?
Don't ever say they don't want us to learn as black people.
I will say it.
No,
I'm not
sir.
gonna stop saying it. No.
This
no.
is why. This
the
is
whole
again.
structure is that.
Again.
Why do you think they stop
Stop.
putting funds? I went to McKinley Tech High School in D.C. It was one of the best high schools in the country
Back then.
back then. Right. And all of my friends, we had about 700 students. We all went to college. We all went to college.
Okay.
You know, and there are too many state legislation systems. I mean,
What is it?
We're gonna let Tanya respond.
But this is why I say stop saying they.
Yeah,
Because my first question is always who is they.
exactly.
I can tell
Number
you they
one.
is we had time.
Secondly,
we go have coffee. I'll tell you they.
secondly, if I remember my history correctly, I'm not a native of the district. I'm not even a native of Maryland. But if I remember my history correctly, the mayor of the District of Columbia has been an African American for how many years?
Since Jesus was a baby.
Remember, at first he was appointed.
I understand that.
No. I'm just saying.
I understand
to
that.
understand that the mayor has been
what's your
an
point?
African
let her-
American.
let her
Stop.
make
a-
Again,
Yeah.
the mayor has been an African American. The mayor gets the first crack at the budget. The mayor makes the first recommendation on where the money goes when it relates to education. Until most recently, the district council, and it's still mostly African American, but the chair now is a Caucasian.
I'll say white boy.
But for a long time, the council in the district was managed, run, majority African Americans. Again, we have a say in where the money in education goes. Now I'm explaining to you why I say don't say that. because I was raised in the South, born and bred, conceived, born and bred in South Carolina. When we had education, and I hear my family say, "Well, separate but equal." Well,
It's inherently unequal.
and it is. When we had separate schools, we may not have had the best buildings. We didn't have the school buses that they had, but we were educated.
Because people gave a damn.
Exactly. We went to court because we wanted equality. We wanted to be able to ride the school bus and not walk 5 miles to school. Because
Exactly.
one of the cases that became Brown versus Board of Education, I want you to know, started. Matter of fact, the first case started in Somerton, South Carolina. Don't get it twisted. That's why you got to educate yourself. It started in South Carolina because the children wanted a school bus. Hold
Wait a
on.
minute.
I'm going
Let
to
her
tell you
finish.
why I
You
asked
have
you
the
not
floor
to
in a
say
minute.
that anymore. Because it's not that we don't want to be educated. It's not even that they didn't want to educate us. They just didn't want to educate us in the same facilities
That they were educated.
using the same equipment and tools that they were educated with. And our teachers, because my mama is a retired public school educator,
Me too.
our teachers have done the best that they could with what they had. But when we decided we wanted equality, yes, things were awarded back. Why? Because now there more of y'all we got to educate. And even though we are in leadership positions right now in Prince George's County, our county executive asked our General Assembly to cut the amount of money that this county is required to put in our education system. That's us. That ain't they.
Okay. All right. You go
They
ahead, and
are-
then I'm going to chime in.
They just because someone is black does not mean they have the interests of the black community. If you have not
Hello.
if you have not learned this in 50 years, it's just like when there was a activist that once said that one of the worst things Martin Luther King did was to ask for integration instead of empowering our communities to do the things that they need to do. So just because somebody is black, and I don't care.
All skin folk and kin folk, we know that at this stage.
Well, then you don't act like it.
But when
no,
you-
no, let me
but
finish.
when you
no,
say
let
they-
me finish.
Wait a minute,
No.
hold.
Okay, but
we
I'm
not,
saying-
wait a minute. Excuse me, Mr. John Q. I know you are our guest, and I do appreciate your time, but we can't not be rude to one another in studio. We are really trying to impart information.
Oh, well,
But
so-
I just
but
want you to
won't let me
identify the
finish
they.
what I'm saying.
No, identify they.
You won't even let me say
Go ahead, sir.
who is they?
Yes.
The system is they. The white majority is they. They rule this country. They created this whole system of equality. Now you want me to give you names and numbers?
Equality
I'll
or
go-
inequality. All you have to do is read the Kerner Commission report.
All right. So that's what you're saying is just. I don't agree. With
You don't
myself.
agree with it, yeah? Because
And that's okay.
I know it is.
And likewise, you say.
I don't need you to tell me.
But
to say that.
likewise-
wait a minute, sir. you
Likewise-
can't be- you're my guest, and I want, but you
ma'am.
can't be rude.
I mean, likewise, you say you want change, and some of they that you voted for ain't changing nothing.
I understand that.
So
Okay.
we have to hold those individuals accountable and not just point at some vague system.
No, that's okay for her to say.
You got to stop that. We're
No.
in the system. We
No,
can make
I
a
won't
difference.
stop it.
We need to get into in
I'll
the
get
system
you
and
more
make a
some more
difference.
names and stuff, but I'm not going to stop that.
Okay, well, we can agree to disagree because of the 13 folks that I grew up with, my siblings, 9 of us have been in front of a classroom. Never have I had the experiences that I've seen, talked to the Bobo with, of master teachers who left the Prince George's County school system because the county executive who appoints the school board chair told the school board chair to, and I'm paraphrasing, to socially promote these folks.
Right.
So they're not mastering disciplines when they get to the 12th grade.
Right.
They're not prepared for the real world. They have to take 4 semesters to catch up so they can start college, and they're going into debt.
And
So go ahead, Jocelyn.
and
I'm
not
sorry.
only that, I remember when my children were in school, I served in elementary school. I served as a PTA president. I learned so much, not just from being the PTA president, but also from being the PTA president that participated in countywide PTA, statewide
Right, yep.
PTA, because there's so much more than just PTA in your local system, and no, the PTA is not a branch of the principal, and you had to learn that that's what your job was. And in PG County, what I learned at that time was I didn't even know there was such a thing as a certificate of attendance instead of just
A high school diploma.
high school diploma.
Yes, ma'am.
There were children who got high school diplomas, but there were children who got certificates of attendance. Two different things. That certificate does not prepare you for the world. We were not necessarily preparing our kids. And that's when, at the time, them taking those tests was being lauded, and they got to take these tests, and the teachers were teaching to the test because it wasn't about the child learning, it was about the teacher being able to be graded.
And if I can
And
interject
move on.
something right there, they threatened teachers as recent as last freaking year
Yep.
that if you don't pass the kid, you don't have a job.
Job.
I know because that same teacher is tutoring my grandson now. She was a master teacher in D.C., a teacher that they sent from school to school to school to get the math and the math scores up on the standardized test. She did the same thing in Prince George's County, and her last stop was at the Adult Education Center on Bladensburg Road, where because any teacher, and I was one, if you're going to be a good teacher, you're going to find out what your students know before you introduce a new concept. Is that correct or incorrect, Mr. Q?
That's correct.
Exactly. You had the county executive giving freaking directives to the person in charge of the school system, not to, I'm trying not to use bad language.
Not to
do
fail
that.
a child.
Not to fail.
We
not to
changed.
fail.
We changed the grading system so that a failure now is not an F on your report card.
Yeah, a
as
E.
in foxtrot, it's
Yeah.
now an E, as in echo. And when they did that, I said, "What the hell does E stand for? Excellent."
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Cause when my son said, "Mama, it's for effort," I said, "Really?" Cause when I was in school, you get an F. That means you fail. That means you might want to try it again.
94 to 100 was A, 93 to 88 was B, 80 to 87 was C, 70 to 79 was D, below 70 is
Was a F. You failed. We don't even tell our children they fail anymore.
Exactly. Because it might hurt their feelings. But when they get out in the real world don't give a shit about your
No.
feelings.
And we took our
and
kids.
don't care about your effort neither.
No.
Yeah.
And we took our kids that year. Well, the elementary school my kids went to had 900 children in it. 900. That means there are 1,800 parents, whether they together or not. There are 1,800 parents that are trying to help get that child ready for the world. And so as a PTA president, I made it my business to learn what they were doing in the counties, learn what they were doing in the state. And what we did was have Saturdays where they learned how to take the elephant and bite it one bite at a time. We put down elephant feet in the hallways. We put down trunks in the classrooms because we didn't want them to be so swallowed up by the test that they weren't learning.
Right.
A school is only going to be as good as a community around it, and I don't care
That
where
is
you are.
exactly true. And they were astonished at the scores going up in the way they did. But when you involve the parent in what is happening in the school with the child, you don't drop this child off. This is not the daycare center.
Right.
Right? When you involve the parent or whoever is the guardian of that child in helping to educate that child, because I think we, as
I think you're making Tanya's point.
I think I'm sure. I think as a community we have forgotten how to help our children,
We ain't forgot.
we aren't doing it.
That's
We
what
aren't.
exactly.
And the problem is this: we've got a generation of parents who don't know how creating babies, and those babies are soon going to create babies, and they don't know how, and it's not going to get better. I agree with you wholeheartedly, yes, ma'am. And I too was a PTSA president at the local level. I even served on the state board. Okay?
Hashtag me too.
I tell people education is a three-legged tripod. Parent, the student, the educator. If any of them legs break, guess what? You got failure. It don't work.
Exactly. Okay, let's move back to Prince George's County. I received I went to the Department of, three of our council members held a meeting, a town hall yesterday, from 6, 7, and 8. Number 8, he left early because he had another meeting. But Blagay and Oriata, I like Oriata. But anyway, they called a town hall because of the lack of functionality for the Department of Permits,
Inspections and enforcement.
Yeah, that's what the meeting was called for. But when I went in there, 311, complaints about 311, complaints about the Department of Public Works and Transportation.
Yep.
You
DPW&T.
When Oriata said from the stage, and I've had conversations with her over the years, when she said from that stage that the county executive told folks at various departments not to attend meetings that she's calling. Now, to my mind, and only to my mind, because of course, this was the 311 supervisor, whatever position she was, but she was in charge of the 311 thing. And everybody was saying, okay, the system is overhauled. I think the system is wonderful, yada, yada, yada. But if you call 311 and the person's being nice on the phone, you give your complaint, and the person sends you an email, I received your complaint. And stuff is not getting done. What are you doing?
How is it wonderful? Correct.
Do you
Exactly.
get a
That's
do
what
you
I'm
get
saying.
a report number in that
yes.
email,
Yeah,
right?
but
Yes.
again, here, this is the point I'm trying to raise. People were saying, "Oh, you're doing a wonderful job." If shit ain't getting done,
Right.
Pardon my
How you
French.
doing a wonderful job?
How you doing a wonderful
You
job?
You
I don't
have
get
wonderful
it.
customer service is what they should say.
Yeah.
Because you're listening to my complaint. But in actuality, you ain't doing a damn thing because my complaint is not getting addressed.
Yeah, and I went up to the woman after the meeting, and of course, as I always do, I gave her my card and invited her on the show.
Awesome.
But wait a minute. Quote, if somebody says, I serve at the pleasure of the county executive, Jocelyn, what does that say to you?
That means that they can lose their job at any given time because once the county executive is no longer pleasured with them, they no longer have a job.
Okay, I see John Q, because I was getting ready to ask him the same question.
Yes.
What does that say to you? Does that say
That's the barometer.
Okay,
That's the high barometer.
but here's the thing.
It ain't even
But
gotta
you
be
work
high.
for us.
Right.
You know, but
They
but
got
granted,
it. They got it messed
I
up.
can't complain to you.
They got it messed up.
Exactly.
no, but
no,
see,
she was getting, no,
this-
Jocelyn hit it on the nail
No,
on
she's
the head.
right.
But
But
see-
the
but
people,
see,
the
some-
workers have it messed up.
But
Exactly.
but also so do the county residents because they need to remind the county executive
You
that
work
she
for me.
serves at the pleasure of the electorate, and you don't have to be reelected.
Okay, but here's the deal. Well, she ain't gonna get reelected because she's term
term
out.
limited,
But but what do you do when you call and you write and you go and you still don't get? What do? You vote her ass out.
That's true.
Which is you don't if you can't if any elected official anywhere in America cannot give you the courtesy of a response,
well, I'm gonna say this. And
it's too easy.
you expect it to come from me, so I'm just gonna give it to you. Okay, 311.
Uh-huh.
So that Ms. Jocelyn knows we can call it in. You can log in and create your own account, put it in online. I have done that, and I got the email to prove it. It says my issue won't be addressed for 1,065 days.
Okay, wait a minute. I
Wait,
got to
wait.
interject something right there. Hold tight. Because I did a 311 account when it first came out. Okay, and when I went back in, when they revamped the system,
was closed.
Whichever time it was, I had to reset my password. When I did it
Yeah.
again
Yeah.
this year,
Yeah.
we don't have you nowhere in the system.
Yeah, they dump it every so often. They do that. I will tell you, they
Or
do.
because
They do.
DC has 311 as well, which I didn't know until today. That it's the same number for everywhere. Okay, so
No, it's probably jurisdictional.
no, I'm saying it is jurisdictional, but you're
Yeah.
still calling. It's just
It's
like
still
it's
311.
just
Yeah.
like 911.
Right,
right.
right.
Okay.
Certain numbers are set up to mean the
Be
same thing, no matter where
no
you
matter
are.
what.
Yeah.
So when it's really bad is when you call, you're given the number, you go in the system and you check. They opened it and they closed it in the
Immediately.
same day.
Yeah, that happens.
Oh,
too.
I don't know
That
if
is-
it's the
yeah,
same
that
day,
happens too.
but it
That
says
happens
it's
too.
done.
Yeah, it
I'm
happens
saying,
too.
And then
okay,
they
and I
send you
look
an
out my
email.
window and say,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's still,
Still
there.
there. And they send an email to ask, how did we do?
Right.
You didn't do nothing.
Anything. And so I say that to say this. It's great that we have a way to complain.
Uh-huh.
And that's the thing that everybody gets excited about because they feel heard. But again, what you have shared is not addressed.
Exactly.
Nothing is done. So how can you say a person has done a good job?
I want it fixed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to be heard. I want it
That
fixed.
and that is the purpose for having 311, so that you notify your government that there's something that's broken that needs to be fixed. But we've gotten so, and I say we very loosely because y'all know that ain't me.
Yeah.
We have gotten so excited about the fact that you give me the opportunity to complain. You give me the right to exercise my voice. And I can do it from the privacy of my own home. I don't have to go to the county council meeting and stand up in front of 500 people in a room and fuss about what ain't been done.
Yeah.
I don't have to out myself in public to say, oh, Tanya's always making trouble. Well, Tanya gonna keep making trouble because as a citizen of these United States, I have that right. And I'm
Exactly.
gonna keep doing it. But we've given people, just like social media gave us the cloak of being able to say what we want when we want in private. They're happy about that.
Anonymity.
Yes, anonymity. That is
the
it.
new truth serum.
They're happy about that. But yet and still, you so happy and gleeful, you haven't recognized that the thing you're fussing about is still
Yeah.
left untouched.
Yeah. And we condemn, criticize, and complain among ourselves and not to the elected officials.
Yes.
So again, I do applaud Blagay, Oriata, and Burroughs for at least the effort from yesterday.
And the other thing I'm going to throw out there at you, when you said they serve at the pleasure of, if they serving at her pleasure and it ain't done, guess who you hold accountable?
Exactly.
You don't go back to the person who's serving at her pleasure.
There you
You
go.
show up at her office.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You show up in her inbox. You show up
Exactly.
on her phone.
Exactly.
Because if they too afraid to do the damn job because they afraid they're going to get fired, it ain't just about firing her.
Yeah.
You need to put rain down on her because it ain't done.
That's it. Anybody who is doing a bad job in that, I was just floored when she said they were told not to come to the meeting, and you are an elected official making what, $250,000 a year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where I grew up working for the government, I was told day one, you are a public servant.
You absolutely.
You work for the people, because I work for the federal government. So you work for the people of these United States. And I took an oath and I signed my name to it. They put it in my personnel record.
Absolutely.
I don't care who the president is. I don't care who his nominee is that runs this agency. You still have a duty to serve the American public get it done. And
Right.
what you do is you make recommendations now to the president's nominee who's serving in this cabinet position or in this directorate. You make recommendations that may end up going all the way up to the White House if you don't have the authority and the power as the government servant to make it happen.
Yeah.
Make the recommendations.
Exactly.
In our local government, it's absolutely the opposite, and that is wrong.
Yeah.
In a democracy, that's not how this thing
It's
works.
not. It is not.
So if you're working in local government and you're not there to serve the people in your local jurisdiction, you need to give your damn job up. Because we don't have Hitlers in the United States of America. We don't have a Putin in the United States of America. We do not have dictators in the United States of America.
And I think that we have let our local government officials forget that. They are so comfy and cozy in their positions and their titles that they have forgotten what they run for. That like
And we need to remind them.
and then as cause I being a Prince George's County resident, that we had a council person. Fine, that council person served their 2 terms. The next thing they're going to do is run for Congress. Why? You didn't do a good job as a council person. So how are you going to do a better job?
Because we let them do
Right,
it.
we let them do it. And then the next thing you know, they want to run for either state senate or you wasn't doing the job on the local level. You aren't going to do it any better somewhere else. But also our problem is we aren't growing, educating, and pushing someone else into.
Well, first
I don't want to say push.
We got to do the 101 stuff. We got to get smarter.
Right.
Well,
so
that's
we
true.
can do that.
That's true.
And not only that, we got to stop tying ourselves to whether it's the pastor, the politician, even the teacher. We got to stop tying ourselves to people because, oh, she was nice to me. Oh, I like her. Oh, she looks like me.
Oh,
guess
she's my
what?
soror.
Oh, okay, you went there.
Yeah,
but
I
look at
sure
here. Look at here. We need to start judging people on their skills and qualifications, which means you need to understand what the qualifications are for the job.
And whether they are using the skills that they purport to have
Exactly. Exactly.
for the betterment of you and the rest of the community.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to read this letter. I don't care what y'all say.
Go on, read it.
Read the letter.
We gonna let you
Because the Department of Permits and Inspections, I thought that was the problem. It's a one. If there's ever a town hall meeting in your councilmatic district, go to it. Because I did not. It's a wonder anything is operating in this
right.
county.
Well, nothing is.
Because again, I look at the schools. Yeah, you got shiny pennies. Very good. But you ain't got nobody to put in the classrooms.
Nope.
You have signed away 30 years of property owners' tax money, pretty much. And we're not getting a real good return. We're not getting any return as far as I'm concerned on
None.
investment.
I falling for the bling bling.
Yeah, we got to stop falling for the okie doke. Okay, but anyway, this letter is I got to read this. It says, "Good morning, Chair Ivy," and that would be Jolene Ivy, who's the chair of the county council, and county council members. Because I am viewed as a public figure in the county and not always considered friendly, I carefully measure my words and the issues on which I speak. I have now reached a tipping point and am compelled to speak out about the large amount of taxpayer money that is being invested, quote, indirectly, end quote, into a United States Senate campaign. I recognize state and local law do not require an elected official to resign from office to run for what would effectively be a promotion. That it would be a promotion. But anyway, however, especially at a time when Prince George's County is experiencing a deficit in its budget, no elected official should be allowed to increase the burden on local taxpayers. At a time when homeowners are receiving statements with increased real estate taxes, I am appalled, and so am I, at all of the additional expenses we are covering for the county executive. Do any of you know how much is being spent on the county vehicle and security detail that travels with her for campaign events? Are you even tracking it? Do you intend to send her campaign an invoice for those expenses? The President of the United States reimburses the federal government for campaign expenses when running for re-elections. Why shouldn't she? The emphasis is not included in this anyway. While doing research over the weekend, I found the county's website was scrubbed. Attached is a screenshot of the Volunteer Fire Services Command webpage as it appeared on Saturday, February 24, 2024. I was shocked to see retired Deputy Fire Chief McClellan's picture, especially when Assistant Fire Chief Michael White, a black man, currently serves in that position. Additionally, several press releases issued by the county fire chief in early February have been removed from the website. So now, quote, we, end quote, are also spending taxpayer dollars to pay employees to enhance the look of things in the county for the county executive's run. Yes, it's quite ironic that the changes on the website happened right before her appearance on ABC National News this past Sunday morning. Enough is enough. I realize former county executive Rashawn Baker, I even hate saying that name, also received our taxpayer benevolence when he ran for governor at the end of his second term. However, he did not travel outside the state or use county employees to alter the public record as the current county executive is doing. As a legislative body with oversight responsibility, it is time for you to stand up for Prince George's County's taxpayers. You are planning to take funding from our school system to pay a county debt, but why won't you do anything about the abuse and waste happening in front of our faces? You want us to support you, but you are not supporting us, your constituents. You were not elected to be cronies. We request accountability. That was so eloquently stated, and I need to go back and read that. I'll see that attachment because I didn't read the attachment.
Was there a response?
Uh-huh.
Was there a response?
What was
Because
the-
yours truly wrote it, the answer is no.
Yeah.
But I
Mhm.
got several read receipts, so I know they read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but it's very troubling that we show up every 2 years, every 4 years for the general, and that's the only time we have communication. Oh, we don't not have communication. We don't communicate in between those times. I said, I've been saying it for the past 6 years. I said it at the meeting last night. I say it on this station on a regular basis. Every elected official, if they get elected on Monday, once they are confirmed for that position, their number should be in your telephone. And you should be calling them. That is why folks get away with what they get away in Prince George's County. That is why folks get away with what they get away with in D.C. Because we will bitch and moan, we will condemn, criticize, and complain to one another. But when it comes time to stand up and hold folks accountable, we don't freaking do it. And that's why they are comfortable with treating us any kind of way. We have got to stop that. So that being said, because we are, again, running into the disco version of the show, after 3 o'clock, do any of you have any closing comments as it relates to things that are important, things that you think that elected officials should be addressing in your various locations, or anything that's happening in the national news that people need to pay attention to? Ladies first, Jocelyn.
Well, for me, I'm going to continue to say, educate yourself on who the candidates are. Educate yourself on who the candidates say they are. I am going to say and quote someone very profound: when they tell you who they are, when they show you who they are, believe them, and then go vote for the other person.
Vet before you
I'm
vote.
gonna borrow that one. I like that one.
Yeah. Mr. John Q, sir.
I want to thank you for having me here. This has been quite enlightening, and it's going to open up my consciousness to a lot more about what's going on locally. And I appreciate the conversation and the interaction.
Okay. And I applaud you, sir, for going into a classroom and teaching, because that is a ministry. You have
Yes.
got to really care.
You got to be called
Absolutely.
to that.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
And
So-
and like Miss Angela, Mr. John, I do thank you for your service.
Yeah. Yes,
I
indeed, too.
love teachers.
Yes.
They are absolutely the best.
My first love
Mhm.
was a teacher, my
Yeah.
mama.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, literally, you could be a stinky, smelly drunk,
Mhm.
and if I found out you were a certified teacher, none of that matters. None of that matters. I understand why you're a dirty, smelly drunk as a teacher.
Exactly. 'Cause I'm telling you, my teaching career lasted for a very few minutes.
You got that right.
I did retire as an HR manager from a charter school, but when I went into subs to see if that would be my career path, the first 2 days
no.
were. First 2 grades were great.
Woo!
I was English grammar at Elliott Junior High School in 1970. But on day 3, Home Skillet comes in my class and thinks he's going to take it over. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you the first one. You can, yeah, because I know how I was when we had a substitute when I was in school. Yay. Okay. But the second time I had to correct him, I said, if I have to correct you again, you're going to go out of here. And he made the mistake of
Trying it.
trying it. Yeah. So I had to do a Jesus on him. I laid hands. And I threw him out of the classroom. But he went down to the principal's office because he told me he wasn't going to go. But he brought the principal back up. The principal calls me out in the hallway and says that I have to have him in the classroom because they were, in 1970, they were arguing whether or not to keep or take corporal punishment out of school. So I got my belongings. Say, holla, this
Got
ain't
out
for
of it.
me. This ain't for me. You know, I've substituted in spaces since then, but it's no way that and even as a HR director at a charter school, if I can come in and get order before the regular teacher can, that's a problem.
Right.
So we need to do something. We need to do a whole lot.
Oh yeah.
Hold
I
on.
mean, I tell people that yes, there are some bad teachers, just like they're bad lawyers, they're bad judges. But I love teachers, so I thank you. I do.
Yeah.
I thank you from the
You're
bottom of my
welcome.
heart.
But
Yeah.
I think one of the misperception, I taught for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I was at different schools in PG County.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate, and like a lot of things, if one teacher does something bad, that gets on the news.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But these men and women are just superb. I have not been, I was at 4 schools, and I was never at a school that had a bad teacher. Never.
Awesome.
They were all quality. Some were better than others, of course.
Well, I'm telling you, I have had to send teachers home, primarily the white
Yeah,
ones,
well-
when they come dressed inappropriately, because whether you like it or not, when you step in front of that classroom, you are telling that kid how he or she should present themselves in the
I
marketplace.
understand that.
And
but
how
Yeah.
they should treat you
Exactly, exactly.
as well.
So, all
And
right.
I got one more for my babies, and I gotta keep
Okay.
announcing this.
Oh yeah, please.
Okay,
That's
the
scholarship.
Maryland chapter of the Federal Bar Association is hosting and sponsoring a short essay contest for high school students. 9th through 12th graders.
Mhm.
You can get $1,000 for first place,
$500
$500 for second place, and $250 for third place.
Yeah.
The topic is discuss measures that youth can undertake to advance equity and civil rights at a grassroots level. Submissions are due by March 27th. And if you want more details, you can go to www.f as in Foxtrot, B as in Bravo, A as in Alpha, M as in Mike, D as in Delta.org. That's the Federal Bar Association of Maryland.org. I want to see as many of our high schoolers in Prince George's County submit for this.
Yeah.
Because us lawyers is giving away money.
Yes,
I
indeed.
need y'all to come get it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, we have come to the close of our show. Thank you, Fabian, for letting us do yet another disco version. Okay. But Eminem, and I know you're listening because I saw you. Okay. Before we close the show today, know that there is a lot of value in these broadcasts. If you missed any part of this show, please go to youtube.com. Use the youtube.com/@ Angela Taylor 4119 and hit the live tab. Like and subscribe. Make it a point to take the time to review the broadcast. Share it with your children and share it with your friends, because ain't nobody going to save us but us. So with that said, we want you to count your blessings instead of your crosses. Count your gains instead of your losses. Count your joys instead of your woes. Count your friends instead of your foes. Count your smiles instead of your tears. Count your courage instead of your fears. Count your full years instead of your lean. Count your kind deeds instead of your mean. Count your health instead of your wealth. And by all means, you better count on God instead of yourself. This is 821 with Jocelyn Duncan. Thank you for coming. John Q, thank you for coming. And the next county executive for Prince George's County, Tanya Sweat. I love the ground you walk on.
And I love you back. One of these days, I'm going to stop blushing when you say that.
So, here at We the People, we believe that there is good in the world, and we challenge you to go out there and be the good. This is 821. I'm out.